Hi, I'm Stewart Spinks and welcome to episode 293 of my podcast, Beekeeping Short and Sweet. This week I'm joined once again by Jackie Thomas to discuss the current situation with the yellow-legged Asian hornet and what we should be doing in preparation for our busy spring start. Beekeeping Short and Sweet, a beekeeping podcast for the inquisitive beekeeper with a short attention span. A beekeeper, in fact, just like me. Today's podcast is sponsored in part by Healthy Bees, Heavy Hives, a new book on beekeeping today with a focus on helping you maximise your yields and, hopefully, increasing profitability in beekeeping, featuring clear diagrams and beautiful photographs that complement a relaxed and humorous writing style which is both enjoyable and informative to read. Available now at Northern Bee Books, Amazon and all good bookstores both online and in your high street. You'll find links in today's podcast notes. Welcome everyone to today's podcast. It's very much an informal chat with Jackie Thomas once again to discuss really, I guess, what I need to be doing to prepare myself for this spring and the likelihood of any Asian hornet incursion. Unfortunately, I forgot to hit the record button at the start, so I apologise for the lack of introduction for Jackie, and so let's just get straight into our conversation. What I'd like to just chat about is getting apiaries, getting beekeepers set up in the spring for Asian hornet watch is the kind of term I'm using, just trying to be prepared in and around the apiaries to try and find any Asian hornets that might be drifting around and what we can do, how we should set up apiaries, what traps we should use, if any. I have to say, I'm coming at this from a background of, well, our previous conversation and what I've kind of seen on the internet, but I haven't actually done anything myself as yet in order.
Well, neither have I. I'm not going to be trapping for Asian hornet, particularly, even though we're in a hot spot, Stuart. I really feel that you have to assess what your level of risk is, and based on the level of risk of Asian hornets being in your area, you then have to adopt a certain trapping policy.
Right.
Because, first of all, depending on which traps you use, it can be very labour intensive. It's because you're wanting to trap them, and therefore you're also trapping other things. So you've got to go back and monitor that trap and let the bycatch out.
Right.
I would say that first off, they need to get an idea of what the level of risk is. And in my talk that I gave at the conference, and it was something that had been mooted by someone else, they suggested that you could do a red, amber, green sort of situation.
Okay.
So we are red. I would say that anything over the Thames estuary from us is probably amber.
Right.
Because we plotted on a map, if they queens fly 60 kilometres, and they do 60 plus kilometres, that's from Dover right the way to the estuary, Thames estuary.
Right.
Okay, so it's very feasible that they could fly over and into the London area.
Yeah.
And also there was, I think, 2 colonies found in the London area last year. So there was a gain. Okay.
Yes.
So I think you need a conversation with your Rebbe, your regional bee inspector, Tom. And is Tom your regional bee inspector, Tom Bickerdine?
No.
Oh.
I don't know.
Right, well, I'll leave you to find out that.
I shall have to jump onto the National Bee Unit website and have a look.
Find
And
out who and ask them, because they've been plotting everything, and they will know where the sort of nearest nest to you was and how many, and therefore what your level of risk is.
right.
So in our area, the only way we're going to clean them out is by doing traps in a grid pattern. And
Okay.
that's what we've done. So we've not gone down necessarily what I call the French model, the look after your own model.
Right.
Okay, because that will do us no good whatsoever. We've got to be assured that there are absolutely no hornets nests
Right.
anywhere in our area. So we have put traps out at 1 kilometre intervals right across our area, which is Dover and District. Now, unfortunately, our neighbouring BKAs have got a lot more traps out this year, but they are not as systematic as us.
Right.
So we could pay the price, because obviously they're going to fly back into us.
Yes.
So, but in our area, we have gone for 1 kilometre traps. Now we've had them out since the end of January, and we are looking for queens, trapping queens.
Okay. Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, fortunately, the National Bee Unit are going to come in and put their traps out right across our area in a grid fashion. So that will take it down to the gold standard of 500 metres. For queens, you should have traps out at 500 metres.
And this is in the red zone, presumably. We're
This red
talking about the
zone,
red zone.
because we are talking that a certain level of bycatch or bykill is acceptable in
Right.
order to find and eradicate.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the traps we're using I can ping you a picture across of the ones we make. They're very much like the Vespa Farmer ones,
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're using Trap It because we cannot afford to have anything but the very best attractant in there, and we know it works.
Right. And
Okay.
that's freely available, I guess, online.
It is. It's expensive though.
Right.
It is expensive, but there are some good homemade ones. But because we don't know, they are never as effective. We've been told by the National Bee Unit they may be good, but they are not the best.
No. Okay.
I can also send you through our little leaflet we use, which actually explains to members how they're to set out those traps, because it's not just the trap. If you don't set it up properly, it won't be as effective as
Sure.
well.
Can I just ask, given
Yeah.
that this is likely to become a national problem for us, is there any one place where all of the kind of resources, all of the information is being collated, a website that people can go to where maybe individuals have designed their own traps and they work effectively, or they've got information, like you were saying, you've got some information there that you're happy to share with me. Do you know if we share all of that on a national basis, or is it just kind of within beekeeping associations and maybe when Asian Hornet coordinators get together? Yeah. So, yeah.
BBKA have started to set up a site on their on their, obviously, their website.
Right.
It's
Okay.
BBK, it's Asian Hornet Resources, and
Right.
they are starting to collate things. I said that anything that we produced in Dover, people are free to use, to amend. We
Right.
share everything.
And you've got a web address that you can share with me that I can post to our listeners, put it in the podcast notes so that they could have a look.
Yeah,
Yeah.
can I ping that over
Yeah,
to
please. Yeah, that
you?
would be great. And then I just think that it's really important that where we've got people like yourself, your association, who are on the front line and trying to do the very best that you can, that we don't have, for instance, myself trying to do it all from scratch, not really knowing what I'm doing, and maybe not coming at it in the right way to get the most effective use out of either traps or the bait, as you were just saying, the trap it bait. And if we can somehow get ourselves that information, we're going to have far more success than having thousands of beekeepers running around doing their own thing. In my opinion, just
Absolutely, Stuart.
just as an aside, Jackie, my regional bee inspector is Peter Davis.
Peter Davis. Oh, yeah.
I thought I'd better check before.
I have met Peter, actually. I have met
Hmm.
Peter. I think we met virtually every bee inspector there was in the country last year. They were all coming down doing a stint in Kent.
I shall have to get in touch with him and have a conversation.
Yeah. So we're doing queen spring trapping from, well, as I say, from the end of January right the way through probably till the end of May. So far, we've caught nothing. And then we'll take our traps in and then we will put them out for 3 weeks, just 3 weeks in August.
Okay.
Okay, so we're just going to be sampling again to see whether any nests have been formed, because
Right.
there should be enough workers out and around.
Right.
And so we'll put them out in a grid pattern again in our area and sample for 3 weeks. And then we'll take the traps down and we will just go to our usual wasp traps, because they do go in wasp traps.
Okay.
We'll be extra vigilant. And we'll also be extra vigilant around and about. Now, that means that we have something in excess of 300 traps out there at the moment in that big pattern.
Yeah, well, that's pretty good going, isn't it?
And we've made all the traps and everything. My husband's made all the traps.
Right.
So, but that's the minimum number, because other people will be putting out other traps.
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, one thing we have noticed, it's the first time, of course, that trap it has been used at this time of the year in this country. And we found that although they say bees do not go in the traps,
Right.
honeybees, that is,
Sure.
we've actually found honeybees in there.
Okay.
Okay, so I would not advise any members at this time of the year. We never had a single honeybee in the summer in our traps. But at this time of the year, maybe when resources are scarce, we have found the odd trap with honeybees in it. We had to take one down completely because we got feral honeybees going in.
Right. And that, I think that's exactly it, isn't it? With the weather as it is at the moment, and with the spring pollen and nectar only just really starting to become available, they're going to search in and around the apiary. And if they do find what they think is a food source, they're going to be attracted to it.
Absolutely. Now, if you're in an orange, this is a red area, so it's sort of really intense. But if you're in, say, an orange zone, then really, I think that you could get away with just in the summer. I don't think you need to be doing anything possibly at this time, but this is my opinion. I would probably do maybe a little bit of trapping in August, just to check what's out there. Okay? Now, whether or not that should be on a grid basis, so it's like our 3-week stint that we will do in August, or whether it is people just getting as many traps out there as possible, and just for a limited period of time, just seeing whether or not they catch anything, or whether what I did last year is I set up a wick trap, which is basically a come and go, come, feed, go. But it was placed in my garden. I placed it, it had trap it in it. And so I didn't place it by a window or a door or a frequently used path, because you'll get lots of wasps going there. But I kept it in a place where I passed by it frequently. And I had it out there from August right the way through to, well, the end of November. And I'm sure if I'd have had any hornets flying around in this area, I would have seen them.
Yes.
Because the problem with wick traps is, obviously, you've got to watch technically for about half an hour to be sure that
Yes.
there is nothing coming and going. But if it's in an area where you are constantly checking it, just as a glance as you go by, I
Yeah.
think you are likely to see something.
Sure. Sure. So I'm in Norwich, as you know, and we're about 100 miles north of London, and
I'd say you were orange personally.
we're in a potentially orange area because these queens can fly so far. I guess it's down to local associations to kind of pursue a route that you're currently pursuing in terms of putting traps out and making sure that members have the information available to them, but not putting out quite so many traps, maybe just one in an apiary or something like that. Is that in
Yeah, I,
orange?
I would say that you've got to have enough out there so that you are doing a reasonable job at sampling.
Yeah,
But I think that if you pick up anything, then you've really got to go to a red zone sort of
scenario.
situation.
Yeah,
So you've got to be prepared to go. So you've got to have the traps on hand ready and the methodology to get them out there quickly. And my presentation at the BBK Asian Hornet Conference was really all about how can you get those traps out in a grid pattern very, very simply.
yeah,
Because it sounds like a really, I don't know, daunting task to get. We're covering 300 kilometres square here. How do you get members to set out their traps at kilometre intervals over that area quickly? And I wanted something that was really simple. I mean, I use a paper map, it's behind me.
uh-huh.
And I went through it in some detail and it seems to have worked. And all I have to say to members now is in the summer is they'll take their traps in and all I'll say is, right, on August the 1st, I'd like you to put your traps back out again for 3 weeks.
Right, right.
And they know exactly where they're going. So the traps will be back out.
Yeah, yeah.
If
Okay.
you're a green area, I would say that basically you've just got to be extra vigilant. And I would think a wick trap in your apiary so that, or when you're in your garden, but
Yes,
I don't think you have to do anything other
right.
than be extra vigilant. Because if they are out there and there are enough beekeepers, a beekeeper is going to find them in their apiary at some point.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So I've got currently around 108 hives, 110 hives. We've had some winter losses, but it's been a relatively mild winter, and the bees for the most part, seem to be doing very well. These colonies are spread across 4 or 5 apiary sites. Until we move them out to their spring locations, would you suggest that I should put traps out in those apiaries now as an amber or orange?
I wouldn't. I would take advice from Peter
Okay.
Davis. Did you
Yeah.
say Peter Davis? I
Yes.
would take his advice, but I personally would say maybe have a wick trap out that
Okay.
you check. But I because you won't be going out every 3 days to check your traps,
Once a
and if
week.
you
Yeah.
get bees in there,
Yeah.
you're at this time of the year. And I really don't think, personally, the level of infestation of audits at the moment would warrant that. But
Right.
maybe in the summer, as an organisation, as a BKA, you may have decided that you are going to get so many traps out at this sort of spread so that you are sampling. You've got to sample what's out there.
Sure.
I keep using the phrase, if you don't look, you won't find,
Yeah. No, absolutely.
you know,
Mm.
and we were so successful. I mean, everyone says, oh, there were a lot of hornets' nests down in Kent, in our area, 35 they cleared out. But in my talk, I say, we found 35 because we were looking everywhere,
Yes.
everywhere. There may be an equal number in our neighbouring
Of course.
Ashford or Canterbury areas, but they were not looking as carefully as we were.
No. And in terms of moving into the spring and reports of Asian hornet, where does that reporting system go to? And I know that we've got the Asian Hornet Watch and the app, and people will report using those. Is there somewhere, to your knowledge, online where I could go and see an up-to-date list of where Asian hornets have been confirmed? Is there anywhere?
Again, there has been more communication between BBKA and the National Bee Unit,
Right.
and they have come up with a more streamlined reporting sort of awareness raising for the rest of the country. So I would say go to BBKA and look at their Asian hornet sort of mapping that they're
Right.
doing.
Okay.
Okay. But can I put a plea out there?
Do.
There has been a second reporting app set up by Asian Hornet Alert. This is an independent group which have done some really good things about in terms of raising awareness both of the Asian hornet with the public and with beekeepers.
Okay.
But this Asian Hornet Alert app for reporting, I feel, is going to do everyone a disservice. This is a personal opinion.
Okay.
And I would say that everyone should use the official, what I call the official Asian Hornet Watch app.
Yes.
This goes straight to the non-native species secretariat for triaging,
Yeah.
and they will then forward any sightings which they are concerned about directly to the National Bee Unit. If you go via the second app, then it will be Asian Hornet Alert who determine whether or not that sighting is reported.
Sure.
What that means is my Tom Bickerdike, the regional bee inspector, said even when they have a sighting which they may not put down as a confirmed, it might be termed a credible sighting, the information is recorded by the National Bee Unit. So if they have a track and trace exercise at a future date in that area, they can trawl for that information and use it to help them.
Yeah.
Now, if it goes via this third party, this may be lost.
Okay.
Okay.
So always use Asian Hornet Watch to report any.
Please, yeah, I feel that that would be the best thing, definitely.
Okay. Yeah, so I've just, while we've been chatting, I've just logged on to the BBKA Asian Hornet sightings and incursion map, and it shows a map of the southeast, and it shows, well, there's only 4 sightings listed on there at the moment, and one of them was at Felixstowe, so that's getting closer to where I am. But it does say that it was just a single Asian hornet that was found. There's another one at Chelmsford, and that was confirmed. It says it was confirmed by the MBU, the National Bee Unit, and traps were set on the 26th of August last year. So I guess that's the latest that they've got on the BBKA website. And then it looks as if there's something right down Dover Way, confirmed on the 6th of October, and that traps were put out. So
they're all old ones. I wouldn't worry about. Those will have been all dealt with. There might be some repercussions from that 6th of October one if they found a nest, because
sure.
that one will have produced sexuals by then.
I have to say that I think the map is a fantastic idea, but somebody's got to update it and keep it current so that people like me can have a look at it and go, right, so that's where we're at the moment, not look at it and go, okay, well, that was okay for 6 months ago, but we need to know what's happening and what the current state of affairs is. And I know that's resources. I know that, we need people to either volunteer or be paid to do these things. But if we're going to really get hold of this Asian hornet situation, we need everybody to pull together, don't we, and get on top of it.
Can I give you a bit of hope?
Oh, I do.
And I probably know more about this than many people in the country. I have not bought any traps, which I am specifically going to be putting out in my apiary. I do not expect this year to lose any hives to Asian hornet. That's that's how I feel. That's my gut feeling. I may be proven completely wrong, but even with 35 nests, I keep saying this, even with 35 nests last year, no members in Dover, and we have 75 active members around that number. No member lost a single hive to Asian hornet. They lost them to wasps. Yes. They lost them to varroa and all the diseases.
Yeah, of course.
To Asian hornets,
Yeah, yeah.
And though I will keep my members informed of all the gizmos which are out there, I'm certainly not spending money at the moment.
Yeah.
And I would say if we're not doing it in Dover, I don't think people really worry.
And so just a couple of things. You said that you'd got a trap that your husband was making for you.
Yes.
I've a feeling you might have already sent me details about it, but could I ask you to send them over to me again?
Absolutely.
And would it be okay if I shared that on my website with people?
Absolutely. I'll send you over the trap. I'll send you over the leaflet, which goes with the trap, how to deploy it.
Okay.
Because you really do need to set it up carefully if it's going to be really effective.
Right.
And I'll also send you over the master, because we've started to put a waterproof label on ours.
Okay.
So that when it complies with BBKA insurance protocol, and I'll send you that over so that if people want to print it, or we use, can I say, I'm sure there are other labels out there, but we use the Avery water labels, Yeah. Okay.
We're not the BBC, so you're okay.
Yeah, thank you. The only thing I would say is Guernsey Asian Hornet team have been so generous. The only thing that we would like people to keep on the leaflet is the acknowledgement to the Guernsey Asian Hornet team, because we based our leaflet on theirs. Dover doesn't want any acknowledgement, but we would like Guernsey to be acknowledged on that.
I will see if I can put together a blog post for my website, including all of that information and acknowledging all the correct people, because I'm coming at this from really point zero, and you've been very generous in sharing all of that information with me, and I really appreciate it. So we probably ought to catch up later in the summer and see how things are going, and see whether your predictions of no problems with Asian hornet have come true. Hopefully, fingers crossed for you. You are on the front line, so it would be lovely to catch up again and find out how your season is going.
Well, we were on the front line. If it's moved inwards, then maybe we will be clear, and everywhere else will. Can I just give a shout out for the National Bee Unit? They are covering our area and a lot more area in Kent this year with that grid sort of monitoring. So they're also putting a grid pattern out over a number of other sort of what you might term hotspots in other parts of the country. I think Plymouth is one. I think, where else? I think possibly round Hampshire, but I'm not sure of that. But definitely Plymouth Way is considered a hotspot.
Right.
So Nigel Sements did a talk on the BBKA conference, Asian Hornet Conference day, that is recorded as well. And that's also worth a watch.
Okay. Yeah, fantastic. I'll collate all of the information that we've chatted about today. I'll get it into the podcast notes, and I'm sure that I can find some time to write a blog post and get it onto my website so that people can access that information. And again, I'll try and put links into it to take people to the relevant websites. Well, Jackie, thanks again for joining me today. It's been lovely to talk to you again, and we'll catch up later in the summer and see how things are going.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed indeed.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, that's it for this week. I hope you enjoyed that little chat with Jackie Thomas. My thanks to her once again. And I will put together some kind of blog post on the website for you all to have a look at. And I'll also put links to the various websites in the podcast notes as usual. All that remains is for me to remind you to check out my website, www.norfolk-honey.co.uk, and for my latest videos and podcasts with more updates, tips and techniques, it's the same Patreon page, www.patreon.com/Norfolk Honey. And remember, I'm Stewart Spinks, and that was Beekeeping Short and Sweet.